Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your girl Makeup by Cherish, and I'm coming to you guys with a video. This video is going to be about my whole experience with my miscarriage and how God blessed me with another blessing. I got pregnant shortly after having that miscarriage, and I just wanted to talk about that whole situation. So, if you are interested, then stay tuned. Disclaimer: you guys will you guys are going to hear my son doing a lot of yelling and stuff because he's watching one of his favorite movies and he just likes to scream at the TV. He just yells at the TV. It's just one of his things. But that's the only thing I can do to keep him content while I'm trying to do this video. So I just want to let you know. If you hear a lot of screaming or yelling, that is him. He's not upset. He is just happy that his movie is on. And it's Toy Story, so you know how kids be going crazy about that. Anyways, let's get into this video though. So like I said, y'all, I want to talk a little bit about my miscarriage and that whole experience. It was terrible. Let's just put it out there. It was terrible. It was something I would never even wish on my worst enemy. I don't care. And I don't even have enemies, but if I did, it would be something that I wouldn't even wish on that person just because I'm just not, it's not in my heart to be like that anyways, but it is very, it's painful. And I wish that none of us, any women ever experienced it, but I have watched a ton of videos about women who have experienced having a miscarriage, and it is something that you just have to take it one day at a time. Because, and I don't think you really get over it, you just learn to live with it as you're allowing God to heal you from it. And so that's how I'm able to overcome that situation because of God. You know, it was nothing unique that I did. I just did a lot of praying after a while. But yeah, so, anyways, I had my miscarriage this year in August, the beginning of August, and it lasts for 8 days. And I just remember that I bled and it was really light the first day, but as the days went on, the bleeding got dark, and then I started having the blood clots, and then, I was back and forth to the ER, seeing my doctor. They had to do a lot of blood work to see if my levels was dropping. I remember I went to the emergency room at one of our really good hospitals out here, and they did a cold blue on me, and like you guys should have seen, like all, like there was like 20 nurses and doctors that came to my rescue just to assist me and help me with this whole situation and check me out. They were really good. They were really nice. I just felt so special in that moment, but and that's an experience to remember, because it's like that's how you want all these doctors to be and these nurses to see you right away when you come into the emergency room instead of sitting there 3 or 4 hours. But anyways, so yeah, I did get the confirmation I was having a miscarriage, and I didn't want to believe it. In fact, I was having a hard time receiving that. So in my mind, I was like, I didn't have a miscarriage. I didn't have a miscarriage. I was in denial. And, there is, stages to, you trying to deal with pain. And so I was in denial, and then I was depressed. I remember one day I drank, and I drank so much that I couldn't even go into work one night because of how intoxicated I was. And I remember my mom had to call my job to let them know I was not coming in, and explain to them yeah, she's still going through this whole ordeal with her miscarriage. And I remember my supervisor mentioned, like, I'm surprised she even came into work so soon, because I did inform him, and he was just like, oh my gosh, let me know if you need anything, and I'm so sorry that you went through that, and blase, blase, and he was very supportive, and I was so appreciative of that, and especially because I needed time to like cope with that, but I felt like the reason why I returned to work so soon, because it's like I have bills, I have rent, and I have a child I have to take care of. So I don't have time to sit here and cry for 10 days about this situation. Like, I know I'm going to cry and all that, but I still got to pay bills too. Like, bills don't stop just because of life's certain, situations. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I returned back to work, and like I said, I should have just took more time off, but I didn't. So anyway, so time goes on. I realized the day that I got too intoxicated and too high, I was like, this is not the way like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit up here and try to deal with my pain by turning to alcohol and weed. Like, this is what I'm not going to do, because I know all that's going to do is welcome in more demonic spirits, and that, and that'll cause me to be more in a depressing state, and I don't have time for that. I need to come out of this, because I also got my son I got to think about, and my own health at that. So I rebuked that and repented about how I went about it in the beginning. And then I was like, Lord, I need you to really help me through this. I can't get through this alone. I've tried it my way. I don't want to do it my way. I want to do it in a way where you're going to reveal to me on how to go through this and how to overcome this. And so, as the Holy Spirit was leading me, I came across a couple videos of women that was talking about their experiences with the miscarriage and how God had helped them through it. And so those are the type of videos that I would watch. I would pray. I would also watch sermons. I would listen to the word. And so those things encouraged me. And I started to heal. I started to realize God was healing me as I began to look to Him. And that's how I was able to, like, accept the fact that I just had this miscarriage. You know what I'm saying? And I started to change my point of view, my perspective too. I was like, He can use me. Maybe this situation happened so that He could use me to encourage somebody else that's experiencing or has went through a miscarriage, that has a difficult time talking about it. And I can just share my testimony and how God helped me through it. And so I just started looking at it from that perspective. And that's when I decided I wanted to do a video about it, because I do want people to understand that, yes, it is hard. Yes, it's painful. And you're going to cry. You're going to feel all these negative emotions. But God so loves us. He so wants us to know that He's still a God that's in control, and that He can still bless us to have another child. It's not the end of the world because we experience losing one. So don't be discouraged. Be encouraged and know that the Heavenly Father, He is concerned about you. He loves you, and He wants nothing but the best for you and your families. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you acknowledge Him and keep Him first, He will direct your path. You ain't got to worry about, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy, because the enemy he'll put some negative thoughts in your mind, but just rebuke them and keep your mind and eyes focused on the Lord. You feel me? Yeah. So, anyways, as time went on, like I said, I was noticing how God was healing me from that situation, and got me out of the whole being depressed and just feeling sorry for myself, and asking the questions like, why did this even happen? I noticed how God was taking all those negative things away and just turning it around for my good. And I was so thankful for that. And just knowing to turn to Him. So anyways, you guys, as time went on, I'm anticipating that my cycle come, because I'm like, okay, there's no more baby. I've accepted that. And I'm like, okay, so I know my cycle's supposed to come. It's been a month. So, and here we are in a new month. So I'm like anticipating for it to come. And I'm waiting for my cycle to come, but it never comes. And I'm like, what is going on? Okay, I did research that sometimes it takes a while, like after you experience a miscarriage, sometimes it takes a while for your body to get back to being normal and your cycles to come, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe it didn't come this week, but maybe it'll come the following. And so I'm still waiting, and my period still didn't come. So I was like, you know what, this is kind of weird. Let me take a pregnancy test. And so I took a pregnancy test. It said it was positive. No, actually, no. The first one said it was negative. Matter of fact, I said, okay, so it's negative. So I'm just gonna say my period's gonna come the following week. So then I'm waiting, and I'm still waiting. And you guys, still no cycle. So then I go and buy. Well, actually, usually when I buy pregnancy tests from the dollar store, I probably do like 5 to 10. Don't judge me, but I usually do that, and I keep them like underneath my sink and stuff, and I just have them just cause, cause I knew that I would want to have another kid eventually one day. So anyway, I take another pregnancy test, and that the second one, it was positive, but the second line was very faint. You could barely see it, but it was there. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna take another one. I took another one, the same thing, and then I sent it to my cousin. And then I remember she was like I was like, do you see it? And she was like, yeah, I see it. I'm like, could I be pregnant again? I don't know. I said, my HCG levels are going down, and they're probably not at zero yet. So that's probably why it's still reading as being positive. But I was like, wait a minute. When I did take my first pregnancy test, it was negative. So then I took a third one, and that one, this time, both lines came in dark. And then the fourth one confirmed it. And so I remember I called my doctor and told my doctor what was going on with me, how I took these pregnancy tests and how they were reading positive, and how I had already had my HCG levels done, and how they were dropping. So I didn't understand why that was going on. I said, either my body is still thinking that I'm pregnant, because I really didn't feel like myself. I remember that. I remember I felt like something was just off. And that's pretty normal after you go through having a miscarriage, they say. So it's pretty normal. Your body's just trying to get from, being pregnant to going back to what, how it should be, you know. So my doctor was just like, okay, well, we're going to make an appointment for you to come in, but we can't see you until you're at least 10 weeks. And so I made the appointment, and at this point, I'm just waiting. And as days are going on, I'm having all these pregnancy symptoms, you guys, which I will talk about that in another video. But just know your girl was having these pregnancy symptoms, and each week they were like, it was getting worse. It was getting worse. And I was just like, I had my mom feel my stomach, and I was like, Mom, feel my stomach. And she was like, what? And my stomach was getting hard again. And I was just like, what in the heck is going on? I'm like, I really can't wait until this appointment to see my doctor and do this ultrasound to see what's going on. And my parents, every day, they would ask me too, like, what did the doctor say? And I was like, I still won't know. So even if I went to the emergency room, they would ask me, well, what did the doctor say? And I'm like, look, they could not confirm a pregnancy or nothing. They can't let me know, which I thought was pretty odd. I said, they can't let me know until I'm at least 10 weeks. So I'm waiting and waiting. Finally, y'all, I'm able to be seen. And they do my ultrasound. Well, actually, my first appointment was the ultrasound appointment. They're doing the ultrasound. I look on the screen, y'all, and I'm thinking, no, let me back it up. Before I went to that appointment, I had already believed it was a new pregnancy because of all the symptoms that I was having. I'm like, no, this is a new pregnancy, yo. I'm like, there's no way I'm having all these symptoms and I'm not pregnant. That just doesn't make no sense. Because I remember even the last day of me having my miscarriage, the pregnancy symptoms had subsided. I didn't even have no more symptoms at all. So I knew after a while that this was a new pregnancy. Okay. And I assumed it was a girl because with my son, I wasn't even this sick. But with this baby, I was like, this baby got me sicker than a dog, okay? Running back and forth to the emergency room. And they still can't confirm because I'm not far along yet for them to even see something, even if they was doing an ultrasound. So that's why I had to continue to wait. So the day of my ultrasound appointment and me seeing my OB, man, when they put the scope on my uterus and they start moving around, man, I look on the screen, y'all. I see a baby, but then I see two babies. Okay, and I'm like, there's two babies in there? And the lady said, well, congratulations, you're having twins. I said, are you serious? And I just broke down. I started crying. I was like, are you serious? I'm two of them. Like, what? I was like, this explains why I was so sick. And again, like I said, I'll explain all my symptoms in another video. But yeah, y'all. So she's taking pictures of both twins, them together, them apart. And twin B, y'all, twin B's just doing all kind of like flips and movement up in there. And I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm thinking in my head, and I'm talking to the lady as she's doing the ultrasound and taking all these pictures. I said, this really explains why I was super sick and super tired. I said, because I knew something was different. I knew it just didn't feel the same like when I was pregnant with my son. I just knew it. I said, and that's why, because I'm pregnant with twins. And y'all, look at my ultrasound pictures. So see, that's the twins there. And then this is twin A, and that's twin B. Those are my babies. So y'all, I remember I did say, I was like, I lost one baby and God blessed me with two more. So I was like, thank you, Lord, for that, because I always wanted to be a mother of four. And so the fact that I went from having one to to having three kids was like unbelievable. It was unreal. And I was like, that changes everything. That means I got to get two of everything. I got to get two car seats and, the twin halo bassinets and stuff. I'm like, I gotta move and I gotta get a bigger car. Like all these things I started thinking about to prepare for my babies for when they get here. So yeah, you guys, I do plan on making videos about the symptoms and everything that I experienced, and also just my whole journey with my twin pregnancy, because I also find that there's not a ton of women on here that do videos about twin pregnancies. There's not a lot of videos that you will find on here. You will find some, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to be a ton of them. Maybe like a handful, but yeah. I just want to talk about my journey and what I experienced. And if you also experienced these symptoms, you might be having twins. You never know. So anyways, that'll be for another video. That's pretty much it. Until next time, you guys, y'all stay blessed, and I will see y'all in my next video. Peace out.